Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Josh.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Hiking Fools, guiding you through the trails of Glacier National Park. And today we have a special guest joining us in the studio. We are honored. It is our pleasure to welcome Diane Boyd to join us today. Diane, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much, Josh and Sarah, for having me on the show.
Oh, it's gonna be terrific. You know, in this area locally, you're well known. A lot of people have followed your work. You're an author, a researcher, a conservationist. Everybody knows Diane Boyd around here, but out there, to our listeners, they may not. So maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, like a short bio, who you are and how you got to where we are now.
Well, it's kind of a long story. I'll make it short. So I was raised in Minnesota, as you can hear from my Fargo accent.
Hey, we're Midwesterners. I'm Wisconsin and Sarah's Michigan. And don't hate us. We love people. We love the woods and we love mountains even more. And that's how we got here.
Absolutely. So I came out here. I started doing wolves in Minnesota in 1976. And was working with captive wolves and then moved into wild wolves up in northern Minnesota on Dave Meach's study. And then I got a graduate research project to come out here in 1979 and study the one wolf that had a radio collar on it, because there weren't wolves hardly at all in the West. There was a single here and there, but there wasn't a viable population. So I moved everything I owned, fit in a very small vehicle, drove out here and camped, lived in a place literally on the border with Glacier National Park. And my cabin was about 30 feet from the river, North Fork of the Flathead, and Glacier was literally out my back door.
That's fantastic. Yeah, you had a view into it. The North Fork River, for those of you that maybe haven't visited yet, creates kind of the western boundary of Glacier National Park. It's ice cold. People raft it. There's a lot of wildlife around. It's legendary. It's a wild and scenic river. It's an amazing place to be, and Diane spent a lot of time there. The book, A Woman Among Wolves, my journey through 40 years of wolf recovery, is legendary already. I mean, it's won a lot of awards, and I've heard you in other shows, other places, reading excerpts. We may not do exactly that today, but the book itself, I can't remember. Did you say people asked you to do this? People said you should write a book.
Well, actually, I was just busy working, and then I retired January 1st, 2020, into the pandemic. And many people, and I have to mention Doug Chadwick, who's been pushing me for years to write up the history of the North Fork wolves. And the time came, and I was ready, and I had time. And so I began the writing process. And the book real quickly became much bigger than the wolf story in the North Fork. And it comes up through modern times and the challenges people and wolves have living together, sharing the landscape. And it's kind of a fun book of adventures. There's some really fun parts. There's a few that maybe make you shed a few tears. But it was a really wonderful process, very intense. It's all I did was write that book for a whole year. I know that year doesn't seem long, but that's what I did instead of traveling or doing anything else. Yeah,
that's great. Well, we've got to get the message out. We know, you know, and a lot of people are behind the effort to cohabitate, right? We've talked we had another episode with Tim and Rachel Manley talking about bear awareness and bear management and how so much of it is the relationship between humans and animals, the wildlife, how we recreate responsibly in these spaces and therefore are able to enjoy it.
Absolutely. I mean, the landscape, we think it's pretty wild because it's got wildlife on it, but we have made our footprint everywhere, even in the North Fork. I mean, basically everywhere. So wild animals have to learn how to navigate around us, and they do it better than we do navigating around them most of the time. But there's some kind of a peaceful middle.
Nice. When we're creating that, and you've worked hard to make that happen. Sarah, the North Fork area of Glacier National Park, you've said to me, is a special place because of the predators that exist in that area?
Yeah, Diane, we just wanted to touch on that a little bit, how unique that situation is, the multi-predator coexistence that happens in the North Fork of Glacier. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I came out from Minnesota, I'd worked in northern Minnesota, and the predators there are lynx, wolf, fisher, and coyote. That's kind of it. And I came out here, and I was camped right at the border, living with the Border Grizzly Project for the first year. My gosh, there was grizzly bears and black bears and wolverine and
Everything's
mountain
bigger.
lions. And
Everything's huge.
Oh, yeah, everything. And I knew when I'd been here just a few days that my Minnesota days were behind me. I had found home.
Yeah.
So just living, you never know when you go out to the outhouse at night, what might be in your path going out there.
A surprise. It's an adventure. And you've got it well documented. And, you were so close to the park. We've talked a lot about, and you do in your book, about that area. I'm kind of curious, how much did you explore? How much did you get to hike into the remote parts of Glacier? What did you see that not everybody might get to?
Well, I had a little different experience being in the backcountry Glacier because I did it mostly on skis in the winter, following wolves. Summertime, when the park was full of people and tourists, I didn't spend a lot of time recreational hiking in the park. I did some of my wolf work on foot in the park in the summer, but mostly it was all winter on skis every day, traveling wherever the wolves went and seeing the landscape where you could read the story in the snow. Yeah. So it's a very different experience. I wasn't the person to go up and hike the Highline Trail. That wasn't what I was doing. And in the summertime, I did hike in the park, but not as much.
Yeah, there's a lot to explore, and that's a great point. We've said it before, Glacier National Park, open year-round, and so there's so many different ways to experience it, and it's different every time. We talk about that. Our motto, always go, it just means no matter what. I mean, it was somewhat recently, it looked like a day that was pouring rain, and we went anyway, and it cleared out just as we got there and went for a nice hike with the kids and the family, and everything was green and lush, and it smelled terrific, and so it's just different every time. I mean, how much of your time did you spend in the North Fork versus other parts of the park?
Almost exclusively the North Fork. I mean, when we first were looking for wolves, we were over on the east side a bit. But our first wolf was collared on the Canadian side of the North Fork, just north of Glacier Park, about 10 miles. And so that just necessitated being there. And then more wolves walked down and came down and joined her. So, I would say 95% of my work for the wolves and the other carnivores was in the North Fork, almost exclusively in the primitive area, as they call the North Fork of the Flathead in the park. It's the primitive part of the park, and it's glorious.
Yes, and the Magic Pack, right? That was the first, kind of paved the way, wolves back into Glacier. So important.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's about that when people maybe have read the book or can read the book, but talk a little bit about the wolves that you tracked and discovered and sort of fostered their recovery in that area.
So the wolves made incredibly fortuitous choices by coming down from Canada, first of all, under their own power.
Yes.
Nobody brought the wolves to Northwest Montana. I don't care what people tell you.
Yes.
I was there. And they had to come a long ways because they poisoned off and killed all the wolves in the very southern part of Alberta and BC as well. So these first wolves, like Kishnina and her progeny, her mates, came from at least Bamford and perhaps Jasper, something like that, Bamford, Jasper. Anyway, she showed up and she had the good luck, I would say good fortune, to have set up her turf up in the very northwest corner of Glacier Park in British Columbia. And secondly, that the community outside the boundaries of Glacier Park was pretty relaxed about wolves being there. There was only one rancher at the time, and they just wasn't a big deal. So the community was tolerant of having wolves in the backyard. I mean, we were kind of a bunch of old hippies and loggers and whatever, people were okay with it. So there were two critical things, and having the refuge and the security of Glacier National Park and the Endangered Species Act allowed them to grab a foothold in the door and begin expanding the population.
Nice. It's a recovery. It's nurturing, it's observing, it's understanding all of these things at once, which has allowed for the success of this species. And interacting with it sounds like it was quite an adventure. Diane, we've talked a lot about the what, and in the second half of this episode, we're going to talk about some more of the why. And we're taking a short break, but stick with us. We've got another segment coming right up.
Trees with deep roots stand strong, and so do we. Freedom Bank has been rooted in Columbia Falls for over 20 years, serving the whole Flathead Valley with state-of-the-art banking. Whether you're banking from your cabin, campsite, or kayak, we've got you covered. Freedom Bank, rooted here, ready everywhere. We want to be your bank. Give us a call at 892-1776. Member FDIC.
Welcome back. We are the Hiking Fools, and we have been talking with Diane Boyd, a fascinating individual, such an admirable woman who has, as an author, researcher, has done so much in this area to open people's minds. We're having a conversation about, everybody has their own leaning, their own slant, and their own opinion, but Diane has worked hard to open people's minds to the way that we can coexist with wolves. And it's been amazing. A lot of different ways. You can find her on her website, the book, of course, and even other podcasts and shows if you want to hear more. But Sarah and I have the privilege today of sharing that with you and having her here in the studio. So, Sarah, we were discussing something and you wanted to ask Diane a question.
Diane, I remember a chapter in your book where you had tranked a wolf, if that's the right word to use. Yep. And you had put it in the back of your truck and it woke up and you looked in your rearview mirror and you see these yellow glowing eyes. I mean,
over my shoulder.
Yes. How intense. I mean, that's very up close and personal, probably more than what you wanted.
Yeah. That's the opening paragraph, page 1, first paragraph. I just put that little story out there, but, it was not the first wolf I've had in my truck over the years, but I did not expect it to wake up, obviously. And it came awake as I was banging up the road going to check my traps. And it was in the truck with me because I couldn't leave it behind and risk it being somebody coming upon it or an animal to kill it. So I had to take it. And then when it woke up, it's like, ooh, plan B.
These animals are bigger, as big as you, bigger than you. They're huge.
Well, they're pretty big. I mean, I'm 140 pounds. They're not quite that large, but 100 pounds. And they have a lot bigger teeth than I do, and they're a lot faster and probably a lot smarter.
Yeah, they're strong animals. Do you find, we talked about, growing up in Minnesota, even appreciating them in those areas, northern Minnesota, Isle Royale. Did you notice other wolves different? Are they bigger? Are they stronger, faster out in this area? They have to survive a different type of environment in the mountains, or are they comparable to what you find in northern Michigan, northern Minnesota?
That's a great question. So I've worked with wolves. I was on Isle Royale helping some of the early collaring and a lot of stuff in Minnesota. And the wolves there, I would say, are 20% smaller overall, and they're more uniform looking color wise. They're now getting more black color morphs. And they prey on smaller animals generally. They take moose occasionally, but it's generally white-tailed deer. I think in some studies they've recorded 40% of their diet, 40, is beaver.
Wow.
Yeah, so you don't need a huge 120-pound wolf.
Right.
So the wolves are just smaller inherently, and otherwise they function the same. They could all interbreed. And they have had some historic interbreedings with coyotes, and so there's kind of that gene is in there too. Long ago.
I didn't realize that.
And we've talked a lot about, with some of our other guests, about wildlife corridors, establishing these so the animals can live and thrive, and how important that is to, drawing it back to Glacier National Park. Like the things we experience in this area take work, take effort to make sure that can happen. Is there any of that happening with the wolves, or do they sort of stay? I mean, we've got Yellowstone, we've got the Midwest, we've got up here. Are corridors, wildlife corridors, important for a wolf?
The wildlife areas where they can have refuge from human persecution is critical to their survival. For example, go back to Minnesota. Back when in the 60s, by the 70s, Minnesota, specifically the Boundary Water Canoe area, was the only place in the lower 48 where there were wolves, with the exception of Isle Royale. Therefore, parks, protected wilderness areas, was critical for those wolves. And now here, Kishnana and the early wolves came down and had the refuge of Glacier National Park. When they reintroduced wolves, they put them into the wilderness of Idaho and Yellowstone Park. So once they get a foothold and take seed, and they leave those areas to where they're subject to being shot or trapped, you still have the core reserve population that does well. So no, but those areas are pretty critical. But they don't they don't live exclusively in parks. They live out in ranches and in people, subdivisions, and they're kind of everywhere now.
Yeah, and that's not sometimes difficult, but today we're talking more about the extraordinary nature of them versus the contentious nature of the wolf. So we just want to keep. I kind of want to bring this back to our listeners, and I'm very curious myself. So we've talked about encountering a grizzly bear. We've talked about encountering other wildlife in Glacier National Park, and I've got to know. It's not often. It doesn't happen all the time. Very, very infrequently. But encountering a wolf, what do you do? How do you behave?
Oh, I've encountered them a few times. So, and I don't carry. I've never carried a weapon. Matter of fact, the early years, we didn't. Their bear spray wasn't even invented, so we had no defense. On our skis, on our ski poles, hiking, whatever, and they're. I'm not afraid of them. I would be more worried about a mountain lion or a adult mother moose with a calf. But when you encounter a wolf in the wild, enjoy the moment. And if it approaches you, just get big and scary and yell at it. Throw something at it. But that is unlikely to happen, although it occasionally does.
Yeah, I think that's important for people to know, since they can, it's possible to encounter them. Repeating that, like, okay, so I come across wolf, I see out of the corner of my eye, they're watching me in this opening or something, near the edge of the woods. What's our move again? To the average person. I mean, you've got such experience and you were prepared for this. What does the average person do? Stand
your ground. Just stop. And the wolf will let you know what it's thinking. So basically, stand your ground. Be loud, be not threatening, but just be confident. Yeah. It's like dealing with a dog. It's not a lot different.
And enjoy it, right?
The first thing was enjoy the moment.
Yes, it doesn't happen very often. I think the first wolf that I saw in Glacier was leaving Kintla Lake and driving. And before it opened up into the prairie again, I had a black wolf that crossed the road right in front of me.
Oh, wow.
And it was so special. And I just stopped and I was like, I'm just going to enjoy this moment. And I was looking for more because there must have been more.
Yes. The other thing, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't see any more, but it was so special. And I felt no threat from this wolf.
No.
Yeah.
Very special. And the other thing is, if there's something amiss, the wolf will let you know. Like, I remember reading in the newspaper a few years ago, a woman was out doing some surveying work in Washington, and she walked into a wolf rendezvous site. Didn't know it was there. A rendezvous site is where the adult wolves stash the pups in the summertime while they have to go off and hunt and bring food back. So she walked into this site, and immediately a wolf protecting the pups. She didn't see the pups, but it started bark howling at her and kind of circling around and just letting her know it was very unhappy that she was there. And this person panicked, and it was a big front page news story. But nothing happened.
No.
I always have to point out in those circumstances, if the wolf wanted to kill you, you wouldn't be telling the story.
Yes, yes. And they kind of escort you out of there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And just use your common sense, just like with a bear. You don't, same deal.
That's great. That's great to be a little prepared for an encounter. I've got another question. We did this in the Midwest, Sarah and I remember doing it. Do you encourage howling for wolves? Do you encourage, we're in the backcountry, we're in North Fork area. Should we go out and call for wolves?
Well, I'll tell you what, I have done that a couple times. And living in northern Wisconsin, up by Lake Superior, we did go out in the backwoods and do some howling and got some returns. And we've done it a little bit in Glacier, never gotten a return. We have heard them and tried to, but...
Ms. Diane Boyd, should we do that?
No.
There you have it.
The reason being, well, number one, it's illegal.
Oh, okay. It is
in
now.
Glacier and Yellowstone. Just like you can't bugle elk because it's creating unnatural stimuli for them and might get a response. You might not, but recreational howling is not a good idea. Now, I have done it for my work to confirm pups at a den site. I know where where the wolves have stopped moving from, but we don't see in the dense lodgepole forest like they do in Yellowstone. And so, I wonder if they have pups. So you can go in like half a mile away and howl. And if there's pups there, they will respond often.
That's cool.
Often, not always. And usually if there's an adult with them, the adult all of a sudden bark howls and clamps them down and they shut up. That's it. the mom or uncle or whatever is like, shut up and you stop. But you've just confirmed without disturbing them really significantly that, yes, they have a litter. So for research purposes, But
Okay. Recreationally, listen for wolves. Do not howl for wolves.
We'll stick to looking for their tracks.
Yeah. Only because it's disturbing to them. They
That
think
makes
there's
sense.
another wolf or pack in their
Yeah.
territory that's a stranger. Like if someone coming into your home at night.
Yeah, totally. We cross-country
get it.
skied to Bowman Lake one winter, and I was just so excited just to look for tracks, all the different predators up there. And we did see some wolf tracks.
Cool.
And that was really cool.
Oh, yeah.
We had a coyote that was kind of ahead of us, and we were kind of following it for a while just on the road there to Bowman Lake. And I think there probably was a den site somewhere. And then disappeared, and we got to the lake. We hung out there for an hour and didn't see it, but came back and we noticed that it had followed our ski tracks all the way there, and it was probably watching us.
Coyote or a wolf?
It was a coyote.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
and that was cool too.
Sure.
Just to see another.
That's the wonderful thing about Glacier Park or other parks is that the wolves there have not been harassed much by people, and so you can have a better viewing opportunity without really bothering them. Like I'm going to Yellowstone in a month or so. I go every year a couple times, and the joy of that is you can see the wolves on the landscape.
Yeah.
It's hard to see the wolves in Glacier, but they're there, and you see their presence, especially tracks and scouts and stuff.
Well, we've learned so much, and if you're listening, we're going to have part 2, so stay tuned in. Check out our Instagram page at Hiking Fools MT to see some great photos from our recent adventures, and tune in next time to hear part 2. Check out more episodes online, and remember to follow us on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. I'm Josh.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Hiking Fools, encouraging you to always go